I know that you'll be having some product out soon.
Oh, content, as the kids call it. I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you're going to call it content, you might as well just call it product.
Did you have like 10 songs ready to go when you went in? Or?
Yep. I had 10 songs ready to go. We got through 9 and mixing 8.
So you had the songs all written before you went there?
Yes.
It's funny, I was talking to Kimon the other day, and he's his friend Amy Mann, who he's doing some co-writing with in the past, and I was like, well, has Amy been making a record during this time? He goes, no, I don't think so. I go, oh. He goes, well, she doesn't play anything. He said, she's the kind of person that says, it's time to make a record. I'm going to go in the studio and write some songs and make a record.
Whoa.
Which is antithetical to the way that you and I work. It's like, yeah, I don't know what I would do with my time if I didn't write songs and constantly working on something, because that's my jam, I mean, you can only play so many crossword puzzles.
Exactly. I have a similar relationship with it where sometimes I'll go 2 weeks without really picking up a guitar and trying to write something, and that's because I've got something packed into those 2 weeks that is just pulling my brain away from it. And then, but what's great is to always have this thing that you can fill your time with that doesn't feel stupid,
Right.
Or you're actually making something. You're not just doing a Sudoku.
Yeah. Well, you and I have talked about this before, and there are similarities and differences in the way we write songs, because, I know that sometimes you get an idea for a song and you're like the guy in Train Spotting, you block the windows and the doors, say, okay, you're not getting out of here until you kick this song.
Yep.
Which I don't do, but, whatever works. I do find that sometimes it's good for me not to work on something new for a few weeks. I mean, you gotta recharge. It's difficult, but I've tried to get to the point where I never force myself to do it. I never say, or try never to say, all right, you got to buckle down and do this. It doesn't seem necessary, and it's kind of funny because the actual amount of time that I spend writing the song or recording the song is so small compared to what goes on in my mind. I mean, I have a habit which some people would like me to break, of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's when I, look around and go, okay, is there anything I want to expand on? Or plenty of times I get woken up by, it'd be so much better if you use this line. I go, well, I better get up and write it down, because if I wait till tomorrow,
it won't be there.
It will escape me. I've certainly learned that over the years. But that, God bless cell phones for that, You're still kind of waiting for inspiration about how you're going to release it or how you're going to package it?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm waiting on. It's really hard for me to imagine that step before it's mixed.
Ah.
I find it feels still like rough cut lumber, and then it kind of needs to be sort of milled into the nice surfaces. And then once that's done, I feel like the final piece is like assembling it.
We'll talk about your journeyman Luthery career a little later in the show. It's interesting because Kimon, who I've known for a long time, and this was the first record where he said, okay, this time when I make a record, I'm going to not be pressed for time. I'm going to give myself as much time as I need. He really felt like, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And spent the time recording it and spent the time mixing it, remixed it.
Oh, wow.
It's very particular about the mastering, all those aspects of it. And I usually send mine to Don't Give a Shit Incorporated because, well, for one thing, I don't have the patience to do it that way or even the way that you're saying, but it's all valid, and I try to get away from judging how other people do it. You go into the studio and say, I'm going to make a record, and you start banging on stuff. Okay, cool.
Yep.
One question that I have, for everybody is like, you want other people to hear it, so you're going to release it in some form. Again, Kimon definitely knew he wanted to make vinyl, which is classy.
Yep.
I haven't made a vinyl record in 30 years. I still have some in the basement.
Of Treat Her Right?
Yeah.
David, I'm motioning towards my record player. How come I don't have any Treat Her Right records? I would love one.
It probably slipped my mind that I had them. It's also a reminder of how different things used to be. When I think about how much money was wasted making at least one of those records, and just this amount of stupidity.
Well, let me ask you a question. To what degree of detail were you a part of the process 30 years ago when it came to manufacturing vinyl records? I mean, they did that for everybody, but were you...
No part.
No part, okay, yeah.
I mean, I think that they sent us a test pressing. And it was weird because the first record, that album that we did, we put it out ourselves, and then it got a lot of radio play. And then it got picked up by this label in England, which was owned by Jake Riviera, I think it is, Elvis Costello's manager at the time. And it was called, I think it was called Silvertone, maybe. They licensed it from us, and they remastered it and did a new cover. And that was when I first realized, oh, mastering makes a big difference, because this sounds like shit. I was like, how could they... I think that the release that we did ourselves, I don't even think it was mastered, but it sounds great, And then when RCA did it, I think we might even have rejected the first mastering job that they did because it just made it sound dull, But it's, like I said, it's a mystery to me. I suppose it's a little bit like demo-itis, where you hear, you go, yeah, it's good, but it doesn't have the energy that the demo has.
Yeah.
That was people should have had that tattooed on their arms back then because it was always the same.
Yeah. I was just hanging out with Mark Orelli, and he played me a demo. He's been experimenting with making drum loops and writing to them and recording to them.
Secretly, he has his 9-year-old playing drums. He's just not telling you that, because that kid is good.
The kid is good. As soon as I heard it, it took 5 seconds of hearing. I was like, Mark, you have to put these out. Like, they sound so good. It's kind of the reason why, well, I think a lot of us get into this, is you can't capture what you capture in just like having fun in your basement.
Yeah.
You can't capture that in a recording studio with loads of other people around and you're paying loads of money to do it. I mean, it's all process, but I think that there is something about the process of doing it like that you just can't get in a recording studio.
It's true. That's why I don't try.
Yeah.
My favorite studio buzzkill thing was so typical of the time and so stupid. We were working ridiculously in Chick Corea's studio in Los Angeles, which had like carpeted ceilings. Just perfect for if you're playing the grand piano, but for a 4-piece bluesy rock band, not so good. All the guitars had to be recorded in the bathroom because that's the only place that didn't have carpeting. But the biggest buzzkill was looking through the glass in the control room and seeing the full of himself producer, Don Gaiman. He had some giant thing unfolded on the mixing desk. I'm like, what's that? And we realized he's talking to his architect about his new house. Yeah, guys, that was pretty good. Do another one and take it a little faster. Okay, so, yeah, for that third bathroom on the first floor, I think we should...
Oh, my God.
It was definitely Spinal Tap worthy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, I hope not. I'm sure it does.
I can't think of many producers that have that kind of power anymore. And if they do, they're involved in making the music and not just saying what sounds good and what doesn't sound good, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about that when I was watching the Grammys the other night, about that, all the different way that the things are produced. One person got a Grammy and they said, it was important to me to get this out, but I did it in my bedroom, and that's how it came out. I mean, I'm sure that it got tweaked afterwards, but the fact that you can start that, and famously Billie Eilish's record, she and her brother did it in their house, and then they follow with that abominable James Bond thing that just like, wow.
I think that's one of those, it's true every time, but if you try to recreate it, it won't be true.
Yeah.
It's this strange paradox where if you set out to do it and you said, I'm going to make, a hit infectious record, and the thing that's going to be magical about it is the fact that I did it at home, you're going to release it and nobody's going to think that it's magical. There's something about you're less guarded when you're sort of doing it for a different reason at your house, or I don't know, but it's
No, it's true. Another thing that doesn't exist very much anymore is four people getting together to play music and getting together every week or twice a week or whatever and coming up with a sound, and that's what is unique. It's different people working together. And now you and I and most people work in a much more solitary manner. And then if you do go into a studio with other people, then the collaboration happens. And I mean, some of the stuff that you and I have done up at Great North, collaboration was great. I mean, I had no qualms about going to sleep and letting you guys stay up and do overdubs.
yeah.
But it's that thing that you get from working closely with other people. I don't know that it's not always better, but it's just a different thing.
I've had this experience in the studio where I've been worried about doing what naturally comes to me and that not being enough. Whether it's out of my own boredom with myself or my desire to conform to whatever I think I should be.
You mean not fleshed out enough, that kind of thing?
Or rather, like, I play guitar and sing. And mostly when I play shows, finger pick acoustic guitar. And there have been records where I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in hearing that on a record. I want to do something different.
Sure.
And then I think what happens is the resulting record never really fully feels like me. I think because it's a sound that's wholly new and novel, and it doesn't feel familiar to me by the time we get done. It's like looking at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing yourself. And
your face is reversed.
But very good point. The experience that I've had recently where, granted, we didn't get twice a week for years on end to craft a sound, I was much more willing to just do what I did and be myself and play the acoustic guitar and sing and just be comfortable with that. And then the other people that I was working with, worked within that. The result is different musically to other things that I've made. But when I listen to it, it sounds very familiar to me. It sounds like me.
Yeah.
It's a strange balance to find in the recording studio of pushing yourself to create something interesting.
Well, no, it is a balance. I mean, I was going to suggest that you create a persona, like Dietrich Gaga.
Dietrich Gaga.
Or Dietrich Ramon. I'm going to inhabit this character, and that's what this is going to sound like. And whatever it comes out sounding like is what that character is like. But it is a funny thing because you are who you are in normal life to your friends, and then you have this kind of imaginative life that you portray in music, like we all do to some degree. It is a comfort level because you don't know where the music is going to go. I mean, I feel like when I finish a project, then I'm a different person. So, also the weird thing is I record under a fake name, which I started as a joke, and then it just got out of hand. And it's too hard to retire that doppelganger, If you become comfortable with the fluidity of it and realize, every cell in your body is going to be completely replaced by the time this comes out. And you're going to be physically a completely different person anyway.
Yep.
I don't know if it's comforting or not to you.
Definitely not.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Right, we'll let that out.
It is.
So, some of the stuff that you and I have done together, you played piano or keyboards on. Do you do much composing on keyboards?
No, I used to. I went through a phase, and I'm sure I will again. I find, for now, the songs that I wrote on the piano, it was at a time when I was enamored with a very specific style. And I don't feel like I'm particularly enamored with it in the same way. And I sit down at the piano, and all I kind of want to do when I sit at the piano is play other people's music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember when rock and roll was really just about the guitar, And then maybe it's because women got involved or something, but guys started playing the piano. Shit went downhill. I mean, it's still music, but I can't ever warm up to it in the same way. And it's partly my own limitations because I don't have the chops or the, I don't know about harmony and stuff, so that I can appreciate those kind of choices. It's like if I hear Wagner, I think of Elmer Fudd. I don't think about, wow, that chord, that Tristan chord, incredible.
Yeah.
I could kill the wabbit. But now, when I record, I don't even want to hear any guitar. I enjoy playing the bass on recordings more than guitar, even though I'm even a shittier bass player than I'm a guitar player, because my time is not good. One person I collaborate with, Jeremy Curtis, he's a real bass player. I mean, he toured with Booker T and all these people. I send him recordings and I go, I'm sorry about the bass. And he goes, no, your bass playing is great. I go, what about the time? He goes, we can fix that.
Yeah.
But again, that's in a way, I suppose, letting go of the outcome in a way. It's like I went and bought a triangle the other day because I was like, man, this could really use some triangle.
Excellent. Yeah.
And again, I played it myself, so the time is not that good. There's Rolling Stones records that have this tambourine on them. It's like, what's that guy playing to? It's not even the same song. But somehow it adds to the vibe.
Yeah.
But you can borrow my triangle.
Oh, perfect. Yes. I have a very two-dimensional understanding of rhythm, as in, like, sort of the way that you're taught music when you're a kid is, there are beats.
Yeah.
And you divide the beats up, and you have your 8th notes and your 16th notes, but anytime you talk to Kimon or Billy or, any rhythm section player, keyboard players as well, their understanding of rhythm is, like, so much more fluid than I think, like, your average songwriter.
I believe that. I mean, all I know about myself is that I only feel comfortable playing on top of the beat.
Uh-huh.
And, for instance, in Streeter Right, that worked because it was rock against swing. And somehow, they adapted to each other and created something that was a little different. When I do it by myself, all I hear is like, can't you fucking play behind the beat? And the answer is no. So I just do it the way I do it, and then I just shove the track over a tiny bit. I go, now it sounds in the pocket. This is
exactly.
Great. I would often nod my head, in the recording studio as if I knew what the bass player and the drummer were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know.
Me neither. I have no idea what they're talking about.
Now everything is up for grabs in that way, too. So when you do home recording or you do whatever, any Pro Tools or anything like that, where you can have a visual of the tracks, it's just such a different thing. And you can look and go, oh, I see what's happening there. I see what you're going to hear, which is a bizarre concept in a way. I remember the days when you had to cut the tape to do edits, which seems so barbaric now.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy. But
nerve-wracking
and expensive. That's the other thing. Well, now that I've gotten onto this visual topic,
oh yeah,
very subtly. So, how many CDs have you put out? 5? Okay.
I think 5. Yeah.
Now, when you go back and look at the cover of the first one that you made, do you say, "I wish I'd have done that differently"? Are you pretty happy with it?
I don't think that I go back and look at it and it limits itself to the cover. Like, I think I go back.
That's not the main problem.
I think I go back to most records and think, oh, I wish I had known this about the record making process when I made that record.
That's a good attitude.
And that's not in a like, I wish I had never done it or anything like that. It's not to say that, but just that the learning curve for me on every recording has just been so steep that by the time I get done with it, I look back and it's like climbing a steep hill where on the way up you don't realize how steep it actually is.
You want to go back and record that first 2 songs that you did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the ones that you started on the first day.
Right.
Yeah, but visually, I've always been happy with the artwork. I've always let it kind of come about naturally.
Well, I mean, now that I think more about it, you have a good graphic sense. I mean, you've done some graphics for me that I was like, oh, that's cool. I wouldn't have thought of that.
I really liked the Antidote sticker that we made.
That's a beautiful
one
thing.
Of my,
I like
one of my favorite Antidote stickers.
I think it was a agnostic gospel poster with a light bulb on it.
Oh, yeah.
That was a nice one, too. I've been thinking about getting a tattoo of that.
All right.
It's about time.
That's
huh?
great.
I
Are you
know.
going to give me any like Bitcoin or anything as royalty payment or?
No, I'm going to write your name in little letters in the threads of the light bulb. Dietrich was here. Um,
Yeah.
but
What about you? I mean, I think of like there's the simplicity of the agnostic gospel record design. I really like that. When you were making the Treater Wright records, again, like sort of what level of detail did you get into with
well,
artwork and
there's so many people involved that, and Mark had very strong ideas, which it was easier just to say, sure, go for it. Well, it's funny because the first graphic thing of Treater Wright was we made these T-shirts. It's from a movie called I Want to Live from the 50s. This very Baroque kind of hipster party girl gets framed for murder, I think is basically the story. But anyway, it's this great graphic of her behind bars and fit with the name Treater Wright. And that was a woman named Laura Brown who was a waitress at this place that I couldn't afford to drink at, but did anyway. And she heard the name of the band and said, oh, I have a great graphic for you. That T-shirt, that's what people remember. And that the first record that we made was a picture of this other woman we know wearing that T-shirt
great.
inside of a leather jacket. Yeah. And then when, RCA, they had people on staff that get paid a lot of money just to think up shit. And it was like, really? That's the best thing you could come up with? And then the English cover, I never liked that either. I like the title on the tracks cover, which is just a photograph that the sound man took on tour, and then it does have some kind of weird treatment to it, but somehow it captures kind of the semi-delirium of being on tour, waking up on the bus outside Mount Rushmore and come on, let's take a picture. No, not with that in the background, with the bus in the background. It's like, okay. So, anyway, and it's a funny thing because when LPs, vinyl LPs were the currency, you had this big canvas to work, and now really the art exists in another place. I mean, I thought that people would really get into websites of acts, and they would have all sorts of cool shit on them, and people would look at them, but I don't look at them. And when I've made websites like that, I don't think anybody else looked at them either. It was like, it's annoying.
It's really sad because it's such a direct artist to fan, artist to consumer relationship. To just have a website that, band members can post writings from the road or photographs of their own that they take or demos that are only available streamed on the website. I'm sure there are bands that do this. I don't know many friends that curate their websites.
But people do Instagram. I mean, in a way, Instagram is like, a half-assed version of a website. It's like, oh, here's a cool thing that I saw. Like me, like my music.
Yep. I liked your pyramids. Here lies David Champagne.
Yep.
That was a great T-shirt. You had those made.
I had one made. So I have to call this podcast something, and it's like naming a record.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, I want to keep my dollar-proof reputation intact, but I do want, I do want to at least make the effort. So what do you think of calling it The Monkey Chased the Weasel?
The Monkey Chased the Weasel. Yeah.
Because I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Are we the monkey or the weasel? That's the only
Good
real
question. Yeah.
We're the monkey chasing the weasel.
Yeah. The monkey chased the weasel.
And
Up goes the weasel. Well, my grandparents helped me name a record once, and I sent them all of the lyrics.
Wow. Okay.
And they wrote back an email. The first half of the email, just terrible idea, terrible idea, terrible idea. Then right in the middle of it, brilliant idea, followed by another 5 terrible ideas. The terrible ones were like, life's blue horizon, beyond life's blue horizon. And then the record title was Little Stones to Break the Giant's Heart.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Is that like a German proverb or something?
No.
No?
They completely made it up. Yeah.
A poem in 5 words. Do you ever feel like, man, I wish I had a band. I wish, life was different.
It comes and goes in waves.
You're more like David Bowie instead of like John Lennon.
That's how I think about it too.
Yeah.
No, I think about it like some days like, oh, I just wish that I was in a band and I didn't have to be the only driving motivational force behind any of this. I wish that some days when I didn't feel like doing it or I wasn't feeling particularly inspired, somebody was just giving me tasks to do, creative or otherwise. And I still then could feel like I was getting work done and progressing, even though I wasn't feeling particularly inspired to do it. Then I go to make a record, and I'm so allergic to hiding the things that I don't like.
Yeah.
And when I am in the studio, I'm just so grateful that I don't have to compromise.
No, democracy has no place in rock and roll, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just impossible.
Yeah.
Well, the camaraderie is different, and I mean, if, for the kind of person that looks back on the good times of the camaraderie, it's like, yeah, remember when?
There's people whose entire lives are turned around by it.
Yeah.
Who maybe would otherwise find no outlet, have no sort of process of self-discovery, without it.
Dietrich, you put up with me long enough.
Oh, this was great, David.
When I get good at it, I'll come back and do it again.
Sounds good. Yeah.